Hey, this is Asbaldly Gaming Orc, and I am going to give you some tips and tricks over this pretty difficult game called The Darkest Dungeon. You're going to see me fight the Necromancer. He's the level 3 boss in the video here, and I might cut away to some other scenes and stuff so you can kind of see me, doing some other things. But anyways, let's start off with some tips and tricks. Before I entered this boss fight, you want to use all the resources you can. Before you're getting to the last part of the dungeon, use all your torches, use all your food when you're on that last square before you get to the last boss, because you can't take those resources with you out when you're done with the dungeon. So you might as well utilize anything and all the resources you can, because that's what they're there for. Another tip is that stress is very dangerous. Being the right level when you go to the dungeon helps with this a lot. So say this is a level 3 boss, all my characters I take are level 3, because I have to go through the whole dungeon and then I have to fight a boss at the end. So I use the campsite right before I fight this guy. And when you're at the right level, you can crit the mobs, and this lowers the whole group stress a lot. So controlling your stress is really powerful, because if one character gets stress, it compounds. They make it so like it'll affect other people's stress levels. They won't get healed. It becomes a lot harder. So you need to have the right characters at the right level to lower the stress level. It's very important. When you go to town to reduce your stress, you can preview your character's profile, and they might have like a quirk or something, like it makes them a bad gambler, or they're a nymphomaniac. But you can send them to like the brothel or avoid having them do the gambling tables, and this is going to really help them out with their stress level. Like I said, you want to be the right level before you do the dungeon or boss. Okay, when it comes to town upgrades, you want to upgrade the blacksmith as first as possible. It's going to require those deeds or whatever, and I think it requires portraits. The deeds are really kind of harder to find, I've noticed. But once you do that, you want to upgrade your blacksmith, because you can upgrade your weapons. I think the weapons are more powerful than the armor, but you don't want to like build 2 levels of weapons higher. You want to have like you build your weapon first, and then you want to build the armor, in my opinion, because the way you can think about it is like you do more damage to the characters, you're going to kill them, the enemy, quicker, and you're not going to take as much damage when this is all said and done. You want to then upgrade the guild. Next, the guild will allow you to develop your skills, which again will help out with either your damage or your healing. The AoE attacks are really good in this game. I prefer them over single target attacks, because a character, if say the enemy dodges you, you won't get any bonus, no damage to the enemy. So I like using AoE attacks whenever possible. Like the Joker has an AoE rend attack. He will attack the middle, the 2 guys, and he can cause a bleed effect, which makes it also, what I want to say is dots are really powerful, because even when you're not attacking, like the enemy might get 2 turns on you before you even get to attack, and every time he has a turn, he's going to bleed out. So that's really powerful too. What type of characters do I think are the strongest? Well, I think the bounty hunter is really powerful. He has an ability called Killing Blow. It allows him to attack any opponent from any spot. Also, when he's paired up with the warlock character who can hex people, the warlock will not only do some damage, but he'll mark and debuff the character. But when he automatically applies the mark on his attack, which he can also crit on. And then when he does that, the bounty hunter can do his normal collect bounty attack, and it'll do a ton of damage. It'll do like double damage or something. So again, that makes it a very powerful combo. Your warlock's in the 4th spot, and your bounty hunter can attack from the 3rd spot, which is real powerful. Also, another character I think is really powerful is the healer. The healer is really powerful. The AoE heal is much more powerful than the single target heal she does, because you think about it, if I can heal a single target for 3 to 6, and it's not going to do a lot, but I can heal the whole group for 2 to 3. You think about it just from the math standpoint, I'm healing up to 12 instead of just 6. So the single target heal is just a little too weak. When going back to town, you want to try to use all the resources and all the gold you have, because this game is very challenging. You kind of need to, but you need to leave about 3,000 gold as your emergency stash to do the dungeons in the future. You can also use the sanitarium. Don't forget to use the sanitarium to remove the bad quirks like lockjaw. And then while your characters are being, healed up, stress removed, and the quirks are getting removed off them, you farm up with lower level characters. Try to plan your journey so you make sure your entire squad, before you send out your team, they're basically maxed out. You want to make sure they have the best weapons and the best skills if you can afford it. Stuns are really powerful, and I think a lot of people probably underestimate them. And you want to use them near the end of combat when you're fighting like one mob. This allows your healers or your warlock to basically heal up your group for group healing. Since you can't heal out of combat, it's really important that you utilize as many turns as you can while you know that your opponent is stunned. For the quick quests, I usually take about 8 food and 4 torches. And I always take 1 shovel to reduce stress, because you're going to go through the dungeon basically, and you're going to want to have a shovel to plow through a wall. You're always going to encounter some kind of wall, and it's only 250 gold, because the stress that you're going to get from plowing through the dead bodies or the walls with your hands is going to just be insanely high, and it's going to make all your characters stressed out. And it reduces a lot of torchlight as well. So again, you always want to take 1 shovel regardless. For longer quests, I don't want to run out of food, so I might take 2 stacks of food since it's pretty cheap. And I take usually about 4 to 6 torches, because you have abilities that can create torchlight. And for really long quests, you're going to run out of space. Typically, the ones that require like 2 campfires, you're going to run out of space with your group, so your inventory is pretty limited. So just want to let you know, it's just kind of like a part of the game, I think. And maxing out your torchlight is a really powerful ability to surprise opponents. So say you scouted ahead with your rogues or whatever, scouted ahead, or someone in your team can scout ahead, and an opponent is coming up. Use your torches, max them out before you attack your opponent, because you might get a surprise on the mobs. And basically what this means is surprise is probably the most powerful ability in the game. Think about it. You get a whole bunch of attacks, and you can kill probably 2 or 3 of the mobs before they even get a counterattack on you. Damage mitigation is so powerful in this game. You want to be able to attack them before they can attack you, which is also, this coincides with speed. Speed is really powerful too. So if you can attack before they can attack you, you might kill them before they even get a counterattack on you. It sounds simple, but surprise is the most simple ability. There is an ability that my bounty hunter has. It's like a self-buff ability where you have your first campfire, which is really powerful. And he can use a self-buff ability to scout ahead and not be surprised by enemies, and you will surprise them a lot more. You want to get that and use that ability, because you're just going to start smoking through enemies. You want to farm up. This game requires farming. There's farming, and then there's little mini bosses, if you want to call it, within each zone. And you want to make sure you're farmed up before you go out and try to fight that boss, so you're not like stressing yourself out, like not your characters, but the player is not stressing themselves out. And the last tip really actually is like, know when to retreat, because you might lose in certain games. If you're losing in a battle or whatever, like I went and tried to fight that necromancer guy before, and I lost. So I needed to go back and retreat. And I don't want my characters to die, because it's a lot of work to replace them, even though you get their gear back, thank God. At least they didn't make the game that hard. You can retreat and just flee. And yeah, you're going to get stressed out, but remember, you have another group of guys that can always go out. They're always ready to go out. The biggest negative about retreating is that you don't get the quest gold. And since if you do like 2 or 3 of these, you're going to be really low on gold, and then it's going to be a very challenging game, and you might have to restart the game. Those are all the tips I kind of know that I think are really helpful. And so this hopefully will help you out playing this really pretty fun game called Darkest Dungeon. If you like the video, you like the tips, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next chapter, my fellow orcs.